Black trans lives matter. And the reason that we're making that distinction between being Black and also having the identity of being trans or queer, and that their lives matter is simply because, one, they do, and two, Black trans people disproportionately face state-sanctioned violence. And it drips down all the way to our communities in places of employment, housing, and in our families. And I say this because amongst the epidemic of racism and white supremacy running loose in every US city and across the world globally, the world still had time to viciously attack a Black trans woman by the name of Aiyana Dior in Minneapolis. Thousands of people were out there protesting the life of a Black cis man, George Floyd. But they still made space for homophobia, transphobia, and simply queerphobia. And so it leaves many Black people who sit at the intersection of being queer or trans. Does my life actually matter? Because so often, the people who have started the movements for Black liberation hold those identities. But they're walked over and completely asked to ignore their queerness. And that simply cannot be separated. Because it is my belief that Blackness is innately queer. And those things have always existed in order to have liberation. So that's why we must be clear in saying that all Black lives matter until we are uplifting and fighting for and giving attention to people like Tony McDad, who has died, or Kiwi Herring in our communities and cities, and saying, no, we're not going to allow for homophobia and transphobia to exist, that we're not going to abolish the police, and then set up community policing that will continue to harm and kill Black people simply because they exist at such a crucial and beautiful intersection. That we can no longer give all of our energy, all of our time to Black cis men if we cannot exert that same energy in the name of Black trans people, and in particularly Black trans women and femmes. That to love Blackness and to want to liberate us, that you must love Black trans women and be willing to do anything necessary to make sure that they're safe, protected, and loved at all times. That we are centering our voices and uplifting them. Because at least 29 trans people have been brutally murdered this year. A large amount of them being Black trans women and femmes. And these brutal murders are from the consequences of white supremacy and systematic oppression. So if we're going to fight, we must fight for all Black lives. Because that's where we will find our liberation.